Hi everyone, thanks for joining us again today for another session in the Chain Abstraction Educate series. I'm just inviting our speaker to the stage. Today we're hearing about the first chain abstraction protocol, and that is Socket. Hi.
Hey folks, how's it going? Hey Rebecca, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
That's all right. I'm going to leave the stage now, so the stage is yours.
Perfect, thank you. All right, folks, here we are talking about chain abstraction. Hope you guys aren't tired. I'm always super excited to chat about this stuff. I keep joking around internally that if I could, I would get a tattoo that says chain abstraction, but we are not there yet. So we are going to chat more about how chain abstraction looks like, feels like, and what are some like possible ways to implement it, right? So just to kick things off, I'm Vaibhav. I also go by VC, one of the founders here at Socket. Mostly do tech product engineering research. I've been in the space for the last 7 years, working on scaling Ethereum, right? Was first employee at this company called Matic, which is today called Polygon, right? Built one of the first ZK rollups in 2019. Was at Ethereum Foundation, again, building rollups. What I realized was we are going to have a lot of rollups. And when we have a lot of rollups, the problem is there is like too much fragmentation, because really like the way we are trying to scale Ethereum is by fragmenting the state as much as possible so that fewer number of nodes need to run fewer number of transactions, right? So the collective number of transactions increase that way. So Socket is the first chain abstraction protocol. We leverage this new technology that we are calling modular order flow auctions to enable, there are multiple layers in the modular stack. MOFA allows us to sort of like glue together all of these multiple layers into a single chain experience for the end user. And it sounds all vague, right? That's why today I'm sort of like trying to present this mechanism that we posted on ETH Research, I think a couple of months back, that we call Magic Spend Plus Plus, right? I'm going to leave the link in the chat here. I'm not sure if it's accessible to everyone, but I hope it is. Check that proposal out. I'm going to walk you through it and sort of like showcase what chain abstraction actually means and how we can get there, right? I think to kick things off, I'll just do a quick screen share. Give me a single second. All right, I think this is it. Hope this is all good. Just make sure. All right, sweet. Magic Pen Plus Plus, right? It is not cross-chain and it's chain abstraction, right? And we'll find out how. So Socket is the first chain abstraction protocol. I've done my intro, so that's basically the slide I wanted to present at that point. But yeah, here's the problem statement. I love pudgy penguins, and I'm sure a bunch of us do as well. So I have pudgy penguins that I want to buy on ETH. There is one pudgy penguin on ETH that I really like, right? But Vitalik asked me to move all of my ETH and USDC and all of my assets to L2s. So now I don't have anything on Ethereum anymore, right? I have 200 USDC on Optimism. I have 200 USDC on Base. I have 100 USDC on Arbitrum. And this pudgy is worth 500 USDC or 500 USD, but in ETH. Now I am sad because in order to move all of these funds from L2 to L1, not only it will cost me a lot of time, 7 days per withdrawal, but it will also cost me a lot of bridging fees and a lot of clicking, which I absolutely hate, right? So a lot of clicking, a lot of management, a lot of gas stuff, a lot of switching networks, a lot of RPC stuff. And I hate all of that, right? I just want to buy this pudgy penguin. A lot of us are stuck in this particular world at the moment, right? So as this like pleb, and I want pudgy, but I have USDC on 3 chains. What am I supposed to do? I should go use some bridge aggregator and figure out how to get my funds to Ethereum. I should find out a way to zap such that I can bridge and mint in a single transaction, or there is a third option. Even if I do all of this, there are a total of like 40 minutes, 40 clicks, and my stress levels through the roof, right? This is the part that I hate about crypto, right? Too much complexity for doing a simple action of minting a cute pudgy penguin. Cross-chain zaps, while they sound like amazing, but they're really just like bridging with extra steps. What that means is I still need to do three transactions from 3 different source chains. So while the zap really helps abstract away the last minting element, That's really not where the complexity is. I still need to do 3 transactions, deal with 3 networks, deal with 3 gas tokens, deal with 3 RPCs, right? So really it hasn't elevated my user experience at all in this case. And I think there is only one option left, chain abstraction, right? There is no bridging. You get a single aggregated balance. So instead of 200 on chain A, 200 on chain B, and 100 on chain C, you get a total of 500 that's available for you to use. This action or this UX is so good that you start from the destination, not from the source. So I go to this like OpenSea or some other website, I hit the button that says mint or buy, and I'm able to buy and purchase this NFT using my aggregated balance across all networks. I don't need to think about gas on Ethereum. I don't need to wait for anything. There are 0 seconds spent on waiting, right? So it's instant, it's gasless, aggregated balance, and starts from the target chain, right? These 4 things are things to remember. And this is the ideal experience, right? I go to a website, I see a button, I click the button, I get the stuff. That's the experience we want to get to, right? So UX so good, you forget what chain you're on, right? Really, here, the overhead for you as an end user is close to 0. And we call this stuff magic spend plus plus. You spend now and debit later, right? This is pretty much how, let's say, credit cards and all of those things work. Now we are sort of like taking a peek under the hood of the system to understand how this is happening really under the hood. Let me quickly check in case there are any questions. All right, sweet. Looks like we are good so far. Feel free to add any questions in the chat. I'll be checking those out once in a while. But largely the idea is I go to this website and I want to mint this NFT. In the account abstraction world, every transaction is called a user op. It's not really a transaction, but I won't get into it. Idea is it's gasless, right? And you sign something instead of sending a transaction on chain. Sending a transaction on chain requires you to have gas and all of the other sort of like necessities that come with sending a transaction on chain. Signing a user op is just like signing a message. You would see this message whenever you sort of like connect to a dApp sometimes, where it asks you to log in and stuff like that. It's completely gasless. It's in plain text, so you can see what is happening and whatnot. Some like really interesting properties. But the idea is now you go to this website that says mint NFT and you sign a user up that says mint my Pudgy Penguin with 500 USD. Now you don't actually have 500 USDC on Ethereum. So what really happens is there is an off-chain guy who looks at your balances across networks and you actually have funds across these 3 different networks and I have funds on Ethereum. So how about we make a trade? I'll give you $500 here to mint your Pudgy Penguin, and I'll later go collect 510 from your account balances across different networks, right? So that's what exactly happens over here. When you sign this user up and you try sending it on chain, an off-chain agent comes and gives you the $500 that you need to mint the Pudgy Penguin, and then this guy is able to go to your other networks and collect or debit from your account wherever you have funds from. So now all of the complexity is pushed from you as an end user to these off-chain guys who will handle the complexity of moving funds across 5 different networks, right? You will, of course, have to pay a fees for this, but there is an additional layer of complexity, an additional layer of like convenience that you get out of this workflow. It transforms your extremely multi-chain experience into a single chain experience. You look at a Pudgy Penguin, you buy the Pudgy Penguin. All the steps in between are suddenly gone. It's instant. It's a single click, a single signature. This is how things feel like when account abstraction merges with chain abstraction. We are able to use the account abstraction primitives like smart contract wallets and whatnot and merge it with the chain abstraction protocol like Socket. Why account abstraction is a perfect partner for chain abstraction is because to do things across chain, we want to get a lot of flexibility without losing control from an end user perspective. From an end user perspective, if I'm the user, I want control over my assets, but I also want to give someone flexibility to pull funds from my account when the situation is right? Programmable accounts is the thing account abstraction enables. So programmable account, when it meets with something like Socket, it gives you this powerful combo that we call magic spend plus plus. right? Really, like how Magic Spend Plus Plus works is you deposit your funds into a smart wallet on any of these source chains. These smart wallets, they have a time lock in case you want to withdraw the funds, but hopefully you never need to do that. Off-chain agents can complete your transactions across networks instantly in exchange for the ability to claim from your smart wallets across networks with an additional fee, right? I think largely the mental model to understand over here is this difference between push and a pull based UX. The world that we are in at the moment is every UX is like push based, right? What that means is you go to a website and you like something there. Let's say you want to buy an asset, you want to open up a trade, you want to mint an NFT or anything really. The website is, hey man, you don't actually have funds on this network. So I'm pushing you out to this outside world, and you need to go and figure out everything that is needed for you to actually perform this action on my. So you need to go figure out how to get gas on this network. You need to go figure out how to get assets on this network. You need to figure out if you have the right RPC. And only then you can come use my protocol. And while doing this, you need to spend X amount of minutes and X amount of like fees while doing all of these like prerequisite actions before you use my protocol. Magic Spend Plus Plus flips the paradigm. We move from a push-based world into a pull-based world, where from an end user perspective, you always get a single chain experience. Where from an end user perspective, you always have your assets, right? Your balances are chain abstracted. You don't have 100 there and 100 there. You actually have 300 everywhere. All of your spends become instant and gasless. So you have 300 everywhere. Imagine, $300 are there in the cloud for you to pull from whenever you need on any chain you need. And this action is instant and it's gasless. When I say instant, I don't mean like how bridges can be fast when they can do things in 5 seconds, 10 seconds. I mean 0 seconds, right? There is no cross-chain action happening here from a user perspective. There will be cross-chain action happening here, but that will be from the off-chain agent perspective. So we are able to move all the complexity from the user to these off-chain actors. And for a user, you get this chain abstracted balance, instant finality, and a single chain experience that all of us love, right? Magic Spend is a mechanism that we've put out, and we encourage all people, all sort of like teams building in the account abstraction world, to check it out, to sort of like leverage this mechanism and to get chain abstracted. We originally got inspired from this mechanism from Coinbase wallet, actually, that is called Magic Spend, which is about you can have funds on Coinbase Exchange. Let's say you have 2 ETH on Coinbase Exchange, but now you can use those 2 Ether to perform actions on Base seamlessly, right? So this mechanism we thought is amazing, and we need to do this for the on-chain world as well. So now we are working with 5+ teams across the globe who are working on various implementations of Magic Spend Plus Plus. These are account abstraction teams who already have widespread usage of their SDKs, their APIs, and whatnot. And we are going to release something alongside these folks in the next few weeks. If you have any ideas and feedback, please share them on this ETH research post. I have a QR code here that you can scan, and I also dropped the link to the protocol or to the mechanism on the chat. Let me check out if we have some more questions. Love that. Okay, I see there are some questions. All right, so we have one from Reese. What sacrifices do you have to make to achieve 0 wait times? Seems too perfect. There is a reason we call this Magic Spend. It is a magical experience. But in all honesty, there are some trade-offs, right? Trade-offs are things like, so this is the ETH research post really. Trade-offs are things like you lose some flexibility in the sense that you will need to onboard your assets into a smart contract wallet. And in order to get off this smart contract wallet, you would either need to wait 2 hours, or you would need to wait for, or you would basically need to pay like a fees. Think about this like a roll up itself. When you deposit into a roll up and you try to withdraw, it takes 7 days. if you want to withdraw at zero cost, or you can use a bridge to withdraw for faster, but it will cause some fees. So that's the trade-off. The trade-off exists so that if some off-chain actor fronts you his funds on Ethereum, you can't just take away your funds logged on some other chain and spend it. These off-chain actors, they need guarantee that they'll be able to sort of like claim from your smart contract accounts in the next couple of hours. Hope that makes sense. Happy to follow up. In the Magic Spend collection, how are the agents authorized to transfer funds between various user chain accounts in the 4337 model? That is a solid question, Mario. Definitely recommend checking this post out. But generally, the idea is there will be a module that you will add to your smart contract wallet. What this module does is it allows this roll up. This allows, one second, I think there's another picture. Yeah. What this module does, it's a time lock escrow. You put your funds into this module. This module does not allow you to withdraw without a delay of 2 hours. There are only 2 ways to take funds out of this escrow. One is by you saying, I want to withdraw, and you waiting for 2 hours, and then you get your money back. Or if this modular proof system conveys that a solver or like a paymaster just fulfilled a user op for you on destination. So via this modular proof system, funds can be withdrawn from the time lock escrow. The reason this is modular is to allow different implementations of Magic Spend Plus Plus. So you can imagine a ZK proof being the trust layer here, or you can imagine a roll-up native messaging protocol being the trust layer here, or you can have your own trust layer depending on whoever you trust. You can maybe have something like Coinbase MPC or something like that you rely on to convey proof of execution across different networks. Hope that makes sense. Happy to double click. Another question from Reese. Actually, double clicking on it, the last question was like, how do like transfers happen between different user chain accounts in the 4337 model? And in an interesting part about the whole mechanism is, you remember this thing that we talked about earlier? So the idea is you have 400 USDC in chain up, right? Now, as an off-chain agent, I can go ahead and optimize how I want to do my claiming. So I can actually be like, I want to claim out of this like 400, I can be like, I want to claim 200 from Arbitrum and 200 from Optimism, and I don't want to touch Polygon and Ethereum to maybe save my gas cost, or it's just my preference, right? But the idea is I will be able to use this modular proof system to go from the target chain where the user op was executed back to whatever chain the user funds are custodied on in smart contract wallets, right? And this is part of like what Socket gives you in this entire sort of like picture. What Socket gives you in this entire picture is 2 things. One is this like modular proof system, and another is like an auction between a user op that wants to be spent on chain and these off chain agents. So let's say in like the example that we've been talking about so far, you as a user, you come up and you're like, I want to buy this pudgy penguin. It's worth $500. And let's see who can do it for me in the cheapest way possible, right? And you open up your user op into this like auction where off-chain agents are forced to compete to fulfill your user op. So a particular paymaster can be like, hey, I'll do it in $5. Some other will be like, hey, I'll do it in $4, right? So it has 2 side effects. One is you are now able to tap into a network of multiple paymasters. So you are able to tap into a network of paymasters instead of a single one. So you have better guarantees of success. And as a result of them competing to execute your order, you get better pricing, right? Hopefully that makes sense. There is another question from Reese that says, what level of chain abstraction has to happen to make crypto accessible to everyone? Can the network handle wider spread if that's achieved? It is a good question. Are there any open source parts of Codebase that we can study as of now? Jane, that's an excellent question. There are some open source parts of the Codebase, but really I would say just wait for 5 more days. We are going to make a full release, a demo where you can actually play with this stuff and try it out on different protocols. We are just working through a demo to put that out, and I'm super excited to share. Getting back to the question from Reese, what level of chain abstraction has to happen to make crypto accessible to everyone? This is a solid question, I would say, and something we think about and talk about a lot on our end. I think there is no one right answer to this. It depends on what your target audience is. From Socket's perspective, we are building a chain abstraction protocol. What that means is we are going to build a protocols and expose all sorts of modifications, customizations that applications building on top might want to do. And it's up to the application to decide how much they want to hide depending on their use case. If someone wants to target direct retail, like grandmoms, granddads, they might want to sort of like abstract away everything. If someone wants to sort of like target degens and really leverage the zero latency elements or fast spending abilities of the protocol, they might still want to sort of like showcase a few elements of what is happening underneath the hood, just to make sure people are comfortable and people understand what is happening under the hood. So I think chain abstraction exists to make it easier for users, liquidity, and protocols to sort of like work across networks. Right now, it's incredibly painful. As we walked through the presentation, I'm 100% sure you all relate to the problem statement. I think right now it's too painful for even all of us who've been in the space for quite some time. And we need to make it easier for everyone right now for us to go to the next level, be it degens, crypto natives, to our grandmoms and granddads, right? I think an expansion of the question from Reese is, can the network handle wider spread use if that's achieved? I mean, that's my hope, right? I think if you're able to fix all of these sort of like problems of like assets, users, and liquidity across different networks, and solve the UX issues with using blockchains such as RPCs, gas, and fragmentation of assets, then my hope is we are able to onboard more people and actually use all the scaling that we've been able to develop over the last few years. I think, yeah, those are a few questions. I think there are some few other questions that are coming in. Second, I'll just go through them. Does Magic Spend? There's a question from Adam that says, does Magic Spend essentially front the funds? And if so, what guarantees that the fund asset would still be there when it's time to collect? Could a user potentially move or spend those funds before collections? Excellent questions. And I think we've chatted about this a little bit already. The idea is when you deposit into the smart contract wallet, when you opt into the Magic Spend system, you opt into this time lock escrow, which says you cannot withdraw at zero cost until you wait for 2 hours. So that gives Paymaster a guarantee that if they spend or if they front funds for you, they can go ahead and withdraw and claim from your account for at least the next 2 hours. Hopefully, Adam, that answers your question. Mario asks, what user wallet financial information across chains has to be shared with the solvers for a Magic Spend transaction? So really, like, Magic Spend does not change the picture at all. I don't think Magic Spend is able to add privacy, unfortunately. I would like more privacy elements for this protocol, but I don't think that exists. So everything is shared just like how it would be if you were doing these things on chain by yourself. So it's exposed to public. Hopefully that makes sense, Mario. But yeah, I think we are at end of questions. Amazing questions, guys. Really appreciate you all asking.
Yes, thank you for all of those questions, and thank you for that talk as well. It's really interesting. I'm sure people are waiting to see the open source code when you release it in the next few days. So if you maybe send us a link when it's released, we can put it in our community channel so that everyone can see it after watching this recording or after this live session. That would be really great. So do we have any final questions before we end the session? I'll give people 30 seconds to type if they're typing furiously, but otherwise that's definitely a really interesting.
Yeah, no, it absolutely blew my mind. Like when I actually saw the demo one of the teams had built out, I was actually like, I think this is not working. It's quite nice, and I'm keen to put it out there and for people to try it out in the next few weeks.
That's really cool. There's a couple of people typing. They might just be typing their thanks, but we'll give them a second to finish.
Always happy to hear more thanks.
Of course.
And yeah, I'm quite active on ETH research as well. And I'm happy to drop my Telegram handle here in the chat. Feel free to post comment on the ETH research post or just DM me on Telegram. I'm super happy to answer questions.
The typing has stopped, so maybe it was just thanks. So assuming there's no more questions, we'll end the session there. This session is going to be posted tomorrow, so if you want to rewatch and put any questions in the comments there, then it was some thanks. And we'll direct them and get them answered for you. Otherwise, we'll finish there for today. Thank you for coming in and giving that talk, and make sure to send us those links so that we can forward them on to everyone. Otherwise, have a great day, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, evening, morning, depending on where you are. And we'll see you for the final session on Wednesday in the Chain Abstraction series.
Thank you for tuning in. Bye.